what is it that you actually kind of can see that you see like patterns that are ready to shift? It's just, is it energetic? And
It's
maybe each person sees it differently.
a lot of times it comes with questions. People come to me with questions. And so answering the questions is what comes up, but sometimes it just starts and things things start to happen.
You help to bring some understanding for people, or what I had read about was like identifying emotional experiences that people haven't been able to articulate.
I'm sure you've been in a meeting or even online with somebody, and you can tell that they're getting upset. They're not really yelling and screaming, but their breath is changing. Like it's a meeting you
Yeah.
don't want to be in forever, right?
I was very inspired, and I've contacted the Art of Living, and I have completed the level one, and I'm going to be starting the meditation training. So I'm very excited about it. And welcome back to the Healing You Method podcast. I'm Gloria Lybecker.
And I'm Gail Donohue, and we're so glad that you're here with us today.
And I love to invite you to begin by just taking a gentle breath together as we arrive in through the nose and then a slow, soft exhale.
Mm.
And just notice what your body is telling you in this moment.
Yeah. That was lovely to connect in there, Gloria. Thank you. And today we're joined by someone whose life path bridges the outer world of achievement and the inner world of contemplative wisdom.
Yes, our guest is John Osborne, who moved from a career in venture banking into a deeply transformative spiritual journey that led him through monastic practice and contemplative studies, and eventually into guiding meditation and healing breath work.
And John has trained directly with Guru Dev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. So I hope I got that all correct.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, good, good, good. And now offers intuitive life scans that illuminate emotional pain, energetic patterns, and pathways forward. His work blends ancient practices with grounded clarity.
Yeah. So, John, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really delighted to explore this inner landscape with you.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. So, John, your life path is both unexpected and deeply coherent. And so we were curious about what was the inner call that led you from venture banking into monastic practice and contemplative training?
Actually, the two ran side by side for a very long time.
Oh,
Uh, I guess I could say that my first contemplative experience as an adult, as a young adult, was as a trainee or a student on a course called Outward Bound, which you may know about. It's a program which brings young people into a wilderness experience. And at the end of that course, I had 3 days in silence in the wilderness in the San Juan Mountains of Southern California. And something woke up a little bit in me there. And I discovered a way to teach Outward Bound in a federally supported program for inner city kids the next summer, and that was in 1970. And one of the fellows that I taught that course with, was already a meditator. And he told me about meditation. I didn't know very much about it, and urged me to learn more about it. And I learned a form of meditation my freshman year in college, and I've been meditating. Next week it'll be 55 years, actually, that I've been meditating. And after I left college, I learned to teach meditation, but I also got involved in business and was very excited to be uh, sort of a assistant to a brilliant man named George Kogar, who was the head of Singer Business Machines at that time, and got excited about business as a creative pursuit. So I was teaching meditation in the evening and doing business during the day. I went to graduate school in religious studies and got more interested in contemplative Christian, specifically contemplative Christian practices, all the while teaching my own form of meditation on the weekends. So
Mm.
the two have sort of always existed side by side. I wrote a book with a wonderful man named Thomas Keating called The Heart of the World, An Introduction to Contemplative Christianity. Took a year off of graduate school, ended up in the monastery for 3 years, and
Mm.
got out, finished up my graduate degree, got more into business because the publishing business saw what I had done with my book, and they asked me to start a new venture with them. So business and meditation have kind of coexisted in my life for at least the last 30 years.
Wow. Um, so as you've done the meditation and you had that experience with silence, um, was there a different moment, or just kind of expand on that moment when you realized your life that you were shifting towards a different kind of knowing?
Yeah, yeah, there was. I don't know if there was one moment, but I remember having kinds of strong intuitive feelings when I was a little kid. I think a lot of little
Mm.
kids do.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
interesting that we have an intuition training program for young people, for kids, for teenagers. And what we've discovered in the art of living is that young people don't have all that ego built up that adults have and all the stress and strain. And so they're often much better at intuition than the adults are, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of intuition growing up, and then when I started to meditate, the intuition grew more. I think it's a natural faculty that everybody has, but when you're able to go deep inside where it resides, then you have more
Yeah.
access to it. And so when I started meditating, more came. When I started practicing Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's technique, even more came. And then I was trained in this program called scanning, and then it really came a lot.
Wow. So interesting. So you had mentioned that you would be willing to do a life scan with us here on the call, but um, perhaps we could have a little bit more information about this information about life scans, because many listeners may be new to that idea of it. And could you describe for us what a life scan is and what happens during one?
Sure. Uh, the scanning that I do, I learned from a special technique from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Mm.
And most of us get tied up kind of in the outer world in our mind with cravings and aversions and worrying about the past and wondering what's going to happen in the future. So it keeps us in a very surface place. And
Mm.
what scanning does is it drops us to a much deeper place in the mind. And in that place is where intuition resides. If you get to a very quiet place, there's a meeting place where past, present, and future are all available. And so this technique allows you, with a client, with someone you're working with, to drop to that place and to be able to answer questions about the person's past, present, or future. It's a technique that greatly expands the intuition and drops you into that pure consciousness that lies at the basis of everything and at the basis of ourself. I don't know if I
Wow.
answered your question or not, but that's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that's interesting.
yeah. So, so when you're looking into their emotional or their energetic field, um, well, you said you're tuning into the intuition, but is it, I guess, trying to get a little bit more of a felt sense of what is it that you actually kind of can see, that you see like patterns that are ready to shift? It's just, is it energetic?
It's
And maybe
just
each person sees it differently. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not inside other scanners' brains, but I can tell you, for me, uh, if you're into modern physics, probably the most uh, valued current theory of modern physics is the unified field theory, which says that everything in the universe is connected. Everything is
Mhm.
basically just energy or vibration,
Mhm.
and which means we are made up of a common stuff. And when you go to that deep place where the unified field theory is, there's really no more John or Gloria or Gail. We're all just part of that unified field. So it's
Okay.
pretty easy to tune into what's happening in your life. A lot of times it comes with questions. People come to me with questions. And so answering the questions is what comes up, but sometimes it just starts and things things start to happen. Depends on but I scan usually 4 or 5 people a day. I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years. I have a waiting list of about 130 people. Uh,
Wow.
and I just, I do it as a form of service. And it really helps people a lot. I get a lot of worried people, anxious people, people with physical problems, and they
Hmm.
get a sense of reassurance. They get a sense of deeper connection to themselves, and has a very calming influence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that sounds so fascinating. And it sounds like from the little bit of reading that I did that, and from what you just explained there, that you help to bring some understanding for people, or what I had read about was like identifying emotional experiences that people haven't been able to articulate. So,
Right. That
um,
happens sometimes. You'll see someone who has, I don't know, a pattern of worry or anxiety. They aren't sure where it comes from. And it just depends. I don't control the process of scanning, and usually what comes up is what the person needs to hear. And
mm,
maybe that pattern came from a childhood experience that they've forgotten about, or sometimes we even get into past lives with people. If you believe in past lives, some trauma in this life comes from another life. But what's fascinating is what comes up is what they need to hear. So I don't
mm,
really feel like I'm doing anything. I'm like the last, they could talk about the last mile and when you're getting the internet to your house, I'm just the last mile of it. And it comes from a kind of deep place inside in consciousness. But I feel like I'm more the messenger than anything else.
Hmm.
wow.
So, are there tends to be themes that you tune into as what you're saying? You're like, there's fear, shame, worry, exhaustion. Just,
It's not all negative. Sometimes somebody just recently scammed with me and they wanted to start a new business. And
mm,
what did I see about them starting a new business? So it's not all negatively
okay.
oriented. And most of the scans I do, people have like lists of questions. Sometimes it'll start out and I'll just say what I see, but a lot of times people are like, oh, we only have 15 minutes. I have 9 questions. What can you? And it's about marital relationships, it's about work, it's about health, it's about spiritual questions, could be about anything.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, that is. And so I understand that you guide breath as a doorway into this process and healing. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit how the breath helps people access the parts of themselves that talk therapy often can't reach.
It's so timely that you're asking me that question, Gail, because the breath, yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the breath and then we can talk about it in terms of a spiritual connection. The breath has at least three basic functions. It's one of the essential sources of energy for us, and most of us only utilize 30 or 40% of our breathing. It's also a great boost for our health. Uh, we do a lot of service projects in the art of living, and one of my first ones was with people with AIDS. This was before there were AIDS medications. And I started out with 10 people, and then 50 people came, and then 100 people came, because they discovered that when they did these particular breathing techniques that we teach in the art of living, their T cell counts went up. Their immune systems got stronger, which basically meant that they lived longer. So breath
Mm.
is important for energy. It's important for health. But I think you hinted at another source of we can really use breath for, which is breath is a hidden link between the mind, the body, and the emotions. I'm
Mm.
sure you've been in a meeting or even online with somebody, and you can tell that they're getting upset. They're not really yelling and screaming, but their breath is changing. Like it's a meeting you don't
Yeah.
want to be in forever, right? Uh, and also, if either of you have ever raised children, if you sing a lullaby to children, you know that they're falling asleep because the breath slows down, gets softer and softer.
Mm.
So we notice the connection, at least in one direction. But what we teach people are methods of breathing that'll bring them back to a calm, centered place, no matter what's going on in their life. And it also brings them to a very deep spiritual place. So in a week and a half, I'm going to Australia to teach this course to Australian vets who served in the Vietnam War along with Americans. And vets have such trauma that a lot of it's buried in the body. And you mentioned talk therapy. At the
Yeah.
VA, they're doing a lot more experimental things with the VA now, but traditionally, there are only two methods of treatment were talk therapy or drugs. And drugs
Hmm.
basically mask the symptoms. Because the
Right.
trauma is so great, if it stayed in your mind, you might lose your mind. So they bury it deep in the body, what they've had. And this breathing technique brings it up in a very gentle way and allows it to be released from the body. About 8 or 9 years ago, I did a research project at the University of Wisconsin in Stanford with a bunch of vets in a 7-day course with a woman named Dr. Emma Seppala, who's this brilliant psychologist. She was at Yale. I think she's still at Yale. And what we discovered in a 7-day course that the symptoms of post-traumatic stress dropped 40%, which is huge. They don't see that in
Mhm.
it. But the most important part of the study is they tested those vets again in 6 months and again in a year, and their symptoms were still low. So
Mhm.
once you release the trauma, it allows the vets to come back in the present moment, and then maybe talk therapy will help them more, or other things will help them more. But I had a vet become a good friend. I think he was on 18 medications for 40 years from the beginning, antipsychotic medications, medication to breathe, all those kind of. He's not taking any medications at all anymore. So this trip that I'm taking to Australia, it's another university that wants to do research on this for vets in their country. So that's my next project after this.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's really huge. I watched your talk that you gave at where was it at?
Is
There
it
was
at
a
Google maybe?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. That was my first introduction. So I was very inspired and I've contacted the Art of Living and I have completed the level one and I'm going to be starting the meditation training. So I'm very excited about it and it was very
Congratulations.
timely.
Glad you had a chance to do this. Anyone with
Yeah.
trauma, actually anyone, can benefit from these techniques. This week, or actually early next week, I'm teaching at a women's domestic violence shelter. So women who've been traumatized physically, and I'm really excited about doing that. It's the same techniques with the vets, but it's a little different approach to each population. So I'm very excited to be able to do that.
Yes, what a gift. I love how, I don't know, I'm very inspired by you, hearing how in your journey you had these, as you said, parallel paths, but you were doing it very creatively, both of them. So you're really coming from your source of inspiration in whatever you're about. So,
Yeah, I was lucky in that my first business, with a big company was with a division of American Express. I was working for a private bank, and for reasons not having anything to do with me or my division, the whole division got knocked out of by McKinsey, got knocked out of business. They let the division go, and it gave me the inspiration to be able to find work where I was more in control of my time. And
Wow.
so for decades, I would work during the week and I would teach and travel on the weekends and sometimes take extended trips to, I've taught in about 35 countries now. So
Wow.
somehow nature supported me to be able to do those two things all the way along. And I just stopped doing business only maybe about 5 years ago and doing this just full time now and hope to be able to do
well,
it for, quite some time to come.
Yeah.
yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah. Because what I'm hearing is you began early in your career with honoring both spiritual lineage and practical grounded insight.
Yeah,
And
my teacher, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he made it easier for me because at one point I was doing administrative work for the Art of Living at night, and there was a lot of it, and working at a venture capital firm during the day, and I was beginning to feel like overwhelmed. And he said, "See it all as service. See your work in business as service. See your work for the Art
mm,
of Living as service." And somehow it allowed it to balance a little bit more. So
right, that's so
Mm.
interesting because I was going to ask you, how do you help people integrate what they discover in a life scan into real daily life? And it sounds like you gave a good example from your own experience right there.
yeah, you have to find balance. Um, I'm at a house that I own in upstate New York. I'm kind of snowbound at the moment, But I'm in a resting phase. I just came out 3 weeks of working. I was at the World Meditation Day at the UN.
Hmm.
And then I was a part of a course in Quebec, Canada, an advanced course dealing with Patanjali's Yoga Sutras called Siam. And then I taught a 7-day silence course in North Carolina. And I know that I have to teach again next week, but this week, I'm in silence some of the time, not doing scanning yet. I might do it in another couple of days. I'm eating very simple food, taking naps in the afternoon, exercising, walking, because I know with Australia coming up, I have to recharge my batteries. And I'm finally at this stage of my life learning how to do that.
Yay.
Rest and
Well,
activity are the two steps of progress in my life.
you say that again?
I said rest and activity are the two
Oh.
steps of progress in my life. And if I don't rest deep enough, I lose the ability to have that experience, which can help other people in scanning.
Mm,
Yeah. Well, and you're going to be traveling to the other side of the world too. So that's that could tax the body unless you really stay present with the body.
Yeah, when I go to a host country, I just came back from South America. Uh, I would program, you know, I did 4 very intensive advanced programs there, and I would program in rest days. And they would say, "Let's go to the beach," or "We want to have you over to this person's house and have a," and I'm like, "No, no, rest means rest." So I made sure in every country I would have a nice room. I was always in people's homes with a door that closed, and there'd be some time every afternoon where I was just to myself, and that's what got me
Mhm.
through those. I was in South America for almost 7 weeks, and I
Mhm.
rested when I came home, but you have to
fascinating.
honor the body, to be
Yeah.
able to access all that the body can give you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that self-care is so important. It truly is.
Getting
Yeah.
back to the unified field theory, we talked about vibration and we talked about connection, but also the unified field theory says for everything in the universe, including us, there's a level of change, and underneath that, there's a level of unchange.
Mm.
And that's where the scanning comes from. That's where my meditation drops into. And that's the basis of everything. But if you get too busy and too much into the doership of it, you lose that connection. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons I
That's
like
fascinating.
teaching that breathing is that it's the quickest, most powerful way to access that unchanging place. And then you go into a deep meditation from there.
Oh, that's just fascinating. It sounds like you're describing me right now in my what's happening in my life and what I'm looking at. And so I'm wondering for listeners who are curious, could you walk us through an example of a moment of doing a life scan?
Sure. Usually I focus on one or the other of you. So would it be you, Gail, or would it be Gloria?
It would be me.
It would be you? Okay.
Yeah.
And you've never been scanned before, Gloria?
No, I hadn't.
Okay. And what was your name when you were born?
Gloria May Craig.
Okay, let me go inside. I'll close my eyes for a little bit to get ready to work with you. I may
Okay.
say something right at the beginning. If I don't, I'll just ask you if you have any questions. Is that okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Gloria. One of the things that comes up for me with you, Gloria, is you've had some interesting relationships in the past, some of which have been more successful than others,
Mhm.
and you experienced some significant amount of emotional duress during that time. But now you've reached a new kind of level of wisdom in your life, and you see them as life lessons that you needed to go through, and you're kind of, I won't say that you're blessing them, but you're at peace with them, and you're seeing them as kind of stepping stones into greater consciousness, greater understanding, and a greater um, willingness to be of use to other people, of service to other people. Does that make
Yeah.
any sense to you?
Oh, it, it definitely does. Yeah.
Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask me?
I have a couple that came up. One is I don't know that it's pivotal right now, but I've been in a pivotal place since the loss of my two eldest grandchildren and really paying attention to what I'm about and what I'm in service of. And I used to do music a lot. 10 years I had a band and I loved it. And then I set it aside for my youngest child who had sensory issues. And it's coming back. And so I've had some curiosity because I've started writing songs. And so I have questions around the music in my life. It triggers fear from the past as well. So I have curiosity around what's happening with that.
I see that your voice has the ability to kind of open people's hearts. And
Mm,
maybe, I don't know, when you say you're with a band, I don't know if you were like with a rock band and, making all kinds of music, but the music that I see you making now is a quieter kind of music. It might be with an acoustic guitar or a piano or something like that. And I see that you have the ability to, through your music, it's not really your ability, it's coming through you, to open
mhm,
people's hearts and bring people together. So I would encourage you to do more with your music. It's a gift.
mhm. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I feel a warmth kind of cascade through my chest and my arms,
Also,
which
when you sing through your voice, this chakra is for grief and also for gratitude. So every time you sing, there's a kind of a self healing that goes on as well for you.
that's what I've experienced. Yeah. There's another question I have. 13 years ago, I had an injury on my shoulder, which I didn't realize that I could have taken actions about that. And I've been told by the Western medical that there's nothing I can do for it and that eventually I won't be able to use that arm. And I work with horses. And so it's something that I did have a lot of grief when I heard about it. And yet, one of the things, the practices I've been doing has been with breath, just coming into my heart and just really bringing that light into my whole body and just trusting that flow. And I'm just curious if anything comes up around my right shoulder.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're going to do more, I won't say experimenting, but more investigating into
Mm,
mind, body, and your shoulder being injured or wounded is going to be a portal into learning more about self love. And
mm,
you're going to discover some breathing exercises that can send that energy in there. And not that I would ever try to argue with medical science, but I think you're going to discover that your arm is going to be more useful to you maybe than your doctor said. Couldn't say
mm,
how useful, but
mhm.
don't say goodbye to your arm yet.
Oh no, not.
You're going to be able
Um,
to do more with it for longer maybe than they would have predicted. Whether it's ever going to be fully healed,
mm,
but have a conversation with your arm and figure out how why it happened and
mm,
what you can learn from it.
thank
More
you.
self love coming and more healing from the past coming from that for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm on that journey, that's for sure. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything
Mm.
else?
Um, those were the two things I've been kind of sitting at the kind of not really a crossroads, but just I've been sitting kind of at the bottom of the U with that for a time.
They've been up for you, right? That's what's up for you right now.
Yeah.
Let me see if anything else comes before we
Okay.
finish up, if that's all right.
Yes.
I don't know how. How old are you, Gloria, if you don't mind me asking?
67.
Yeah, by the time you reach the end of this journey, you're going to be more useful to people than you have been able to be in the past. And so I see by the time you leave your body, it's going to be a kind of fulfillment. Like, yeah, I had some bumpy times, but when I finally got my life together enough to help other people, I really was of use to other people. And you're going to leave with that kind of calm and fulfillment at the end of your life. So the time ahead
Mm.
is going to be a really good time for you.
Beautiful. Thank you. I
Welcome.
really, yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
sounds like wonderful messages to have received.
Yeah, it's just whatever comes,
Yeah,
I'm not the doer. It's just I'm the
yeah.
speakerphone.
And so, John, I'm curious when you do a life scan with someone and you provide them with the messages, and you see people trusting their intuition again or accessing their alignment with their authentic selves more and more. How do you have some examples of how you've seen people in their life shifting?
Oh, a lot. More shifting than not shifting. Happens all the time. Let
Mhm.
me think of one in particular. Um, yeah, there was somebody that I recently scanned um, who had a background in tech, but also wanted to be an actor or a producer or a director. And I saw him in a future job where he was working for a production company for a lot of people that didn't know a lot about tech, and that was his way in. But it also gave him access to many other things. And so the job eventually fulfilled all those different things that he was trying to do in his life. And he left the scan so excited and enthusiastic about the possibilities because he was like, oh, do I have to make money with tech? Is it possible to do this other acting, directing, producing thing? And I saw him having a job that eventually gave him all of that. And it just kind of lit him up. He got very excited about possibility. And that happens all the time. Especially people have gone through hard times. You can show them that hard times don't last forever
Mm.
and that there's going to be a possibility. Somebody, Art of Living had a property that they wanted to sell that we were no longer using, and it had been on the market for 2 or 3 years. I taught a course at that property. I said, someone's going to buy it in November. And they just came up to me when I was teaching in Boone, North Carolina. He said, how did you do it? It just sold in November. But it gave him the strength to keep, going. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel that place is going to be sold. So there's a lot of those kind of
mm,
reassurance or resolution kinds of things. But it's
Wow.
also, I mean, I've had suicidal people. I've had people that are in very difficult life situations with, I had one, it's hard to tell, what's private and what you can share, but I'll just be general with it that somebody had a spouse who had a very serious form of cancer and they had a young child. So it was a difficult scan, if you can imagine. And she wondered if miraculously the spouse was, in a late stage of cancer. Miraculously, their spouse was going to get healed. And I saw that it wasn't going to happen. And how do you say
mm,
that in a scan? So I prayed, like, how do I say it? And I said, I'm sorry to say that you're not going to be able to grow old with your partner. But it was good for them, at least, to have that kind of, so they could prepare.
yeah.
And I had
Yeah.
another one where a family was gathered around somebody, an elderly relative who was in a coma. And half the family wanted to keep him alive, plugged in, to see if there was some chance that he could recover. And the other half of the family was like listening to the doctor. It's like he's not going to recover. So when I went into the scan, the guy in the coma came in my scan. He said, "Tell them to let me go. I don't
Uh-huh.
want,
Oh
I
my
don't want to be
goodness.
here anymore." So once they got that, unplugged him, and I got a thank you letter from the person saying it really unified our family and
Mm,
made it easy for us to make a collective decision. So it's kind of an adventure when you scan. You never know what's going to come up or what situation is going to present itself. But I remember another person who had a very high PSA for men that has to do with the prostate and can be a precursor if it's very high for some forms of cancer. And somebody called me, somebody I knew very well, where their PSA went up and the doctor had tested, but no test results had come back. This person couldn't sleep at night because they were so
mm,
anxious about what was going to happen.
mm.
Right.
And I looked and I saw a little bit of cancer. I said, yeah, there's a little bit of cancer in your prostate, but don't worry. It's going to be fixed really quickly. And that's exactly what happened. And that allowed him to sleep. He was fine. Even though he knew he had prostate cancer, he heard that it wasn't going to be a problem, that, he needed treatment, but it was going to go away.
What I'm hearing through each of these stories and through your service is it's really it's based on a foundation of trust. That when you go into that moment of, oh, how am I going to do this? That you have an alignment with your inner knowing, with your source, with God, that you look to for your answers that then allows you to give information that allows that trust to then start to bloom within the heart of the other person.
Yeah, people usually leave my scans grateful,
Yeah.
peaceful, and kind of resolute. Like, I think I know what I need to do next. But
Yeah.
they certainly aren't my answers. There's a place deep inside all of us where there's only innocence and beauty and unboundedness. And from that place, I'm not the doer. I'm just passing on what those people need to have. And as long as you can stay in that innocent place, only the best information will come for whatever that person needs.
Mm.
Sri Sri Ravi Shankar wrote something in an email a while ago that I think about every day. He said, if people only realize two different things, one, that there's a power greater than them in the universe, and two, that that power cares for them very dearly. He said, if people only realize that, he said, my work, meaning his work on the planet, would be finished. So that power that cares about people very dearly is what comes out in scanning. It's not my power.
Mhm.
It's just something I pass on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's something that we all share access to.
Everybody
There's-
has it. But
Yeah.
meditation gives you much deeper access in the breathing. And this
Mhm.
particular set of skills that you learn when you become a scanner, Sri Sri has to teach you to do that, magnifies the intuition tremendously.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it is. It also, as you're explaining and giving examples, it really sounds like it's a coming home to wholeness and to us, like recognizing or getting to know what's always been there that's been we've been taken away from or something
It
in our
definitely
life.
connects people, even though I appear to be the one who's doing the work, it connects people to a deeper level of themselves in the process.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's great. Sometimes when I'm on a course, I'll even do a group scan. If there's 10 or 15 people, and I'll just go into that space and I'll say, I can only answer, we only have time for 3 or 4 questions because there's a lot more than that usually. And I just did that on a course that I taught in Boone. And 3 or 4 people had very, pertinent, how would I say it, urgent questions. And they got answered. But it
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with me.
Mhm.
Wow.
It's the collective, it's the life energy that you
It is.
really, yeah.
Yeah, that you tap into. And it's there. It's there for all of us.
Well,
One of my
it's,
favorite, go ahead.
well, I'm just wanting to highlight how because of your willingness to step in with that curiosity and that interest and to develop your body's capacity and your mind and your spirit's capacity to be in that zone, if you will, it also models for others what's possible. That it can encourage their hearts to be willing to be open to discovering how they can step in there too.
Yeah, your
And
body's really an instrument, and you have
yeah,
to take good care of the instrument. Like if you had a Stradivarius violin, you wouldn't keep it in the garage. You,
no,
you wouldn't put it out in a rainstorm. So I have a pretty defined lifestyle, the kind of food that I eat, as much sleep as I get. I just came back from a session with a personal trainer in a gym. I exercise 4 or 5 times a day. Meditation itself is very healthy. My physical age is 73, and I don't mind telling you my biological age. The last time it was measured was 56. So
wow,
meditation reverses the aging process, and it's because it drops you into that place which is ageless. Isn't that
yeah,
interesting?
Mhm.
I think it's
That is
yes.
so
fascinating.
interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah.
It's like timeless. It's kind of like, I don't, my best experience of that is when I'm out there with my herd of horses and we're doing connection. It's timeless,
Horses
absolutely
are
timeless.
very intuitive, aren't they?
Oh, they are. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I'm
are.
about to do some work with equine therapy, I think you call it, and vets. There's an equine therapy place right near where I'm living right now, And we're trying to get together a course where the vets could do the breathing and the meditation in the morning and work with the horses in the afternoon.
That's a beautiful combination there. Yeah.
Horses can tell if you're nervous or you're angry or whatever. They're wonderful animals. I don't spend enough time riding. I would ride every day if I had the opportunity.
I don't ride every day, but I spend time with them every day. I do a lot on the ground with them. And I'm in service of people, I partner with them. And so it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a lifeline for me.
Horses also like to be of service, I found. They like
Mhm.
to have a job, especially if they sort of feel like they're in communication with someone or doing something worthwhile.
Definitely.
Very
Yeah.
evolved animals.
Yes.
Yeah,
They have those huge hearts.
You do.
they do.
Yeah, as I've learned
Um,
with Gloria.
The facility that I want to work with, it's called Rescue Me Ranch. So if you look it up online,
mm,
you can find out more about what they're doing.
Fascinating.
yeah, I've
And
worked. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Gordon.
I was just going to say that I've gotten to have the privilege of working with some different vets here at my facility as well. Just one-on-one sessions, opening the door and offering support. It's not always, I have found that it's not been as easy to access being able to offer services in certain ways if you're not a nonprofit. And so being able to find a nonprofit, it really does make a difference and does open the doorways for the vets to have those services more.
Yeah, the government has for a long time taken kind of a lead in offering those services to vets, and it's not always easy to work through the governmental channels, and then you've got to set something up on your own, and it needs to be a nonprofit. So we have partnered. There's something called Project Welcome Home Troops, which is part of Art of Living that specifically works with vets, and they're sort of storefront vet centers, which they set up during the Vietnam War, which are more accessible, and we work with them. But it's it's tricky, and finding vets. A lot of vets that have post-traumatic stress don't want to be found. They're kind of hidden, and
Exactly.
they're just existing as best they can on their own. So allowing them to feel comfortable and trusting enough to come on your program, taking care of them afterwards. It's the most challenging program I teach and the most fulfilling at the same time.
Yeah, I really appreciated in your talk how you had shared that when they've had the experience, and there were several that gave their testimonies, when they had their experience, then they would go back and they would share their experience and they know one another, they trust one another, and then that's a
All they want
bridge.
to do when they feel better is go back into a life of service. That's what the Army or the Navy or whatever teaches them, and they just want to be of service. It's amazing. Some of the most inspiring people I've ever taught have been vets. Immediately when they're feeling better, they're reaching out. I remember teaching a course in Delaware, and one of the vets was homeless, and he said he came up to me after the first day. It's usually I think a 5-day course with vets, and he said I can't come back. And I said, how come? And he said, I'm too raggedy. There's holes in my clothes and I smell and I just don't want, don't think that people want to be around me. And I said, well, come back one day. I don't know why I said that, but I said, just come back one more day. And when he came back the next day, there was a whole set of clean clothes that one of the other vets had donated to him so that
Oh,
he could
wow.
continue the course. And so that happens all the time on those courses. People really looking out for each other. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Australia will be similar and maybe a little different because of the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. And so, John, I'm curious about where listeners can connect with you more and explore your work more deeply.
I'm just starting a web page of my own, and they can certainly reach me on my email, which is John, my first name, at artofliving.org. I'm really happy to be online with you guys today. I also there's another side of me that when I'm not teaching, I'm sort of in a private space. So my colleagues here at Art of Living are like, no, you need a web page. No, you need to go out and you start doing blah. And when I'm doing it, like I'm really enjoying being with you two today a lot. But I just have this part of me that's also very private. So I'm having to balance.
Mm.
I'm also a musician, and I have 2 CDs out, or
Oh,
now they call them albums, and starting to do more public musical events as well. So, in spite of myself, It's starting to happen, but at least they can reach me at john@artofliving.org, and they can look at the website, artofliving.org, and find out about programs happening, in the country, in their area, things like that.
Tell us a little bit about these albums, because I remember reading about them, but what kind of music and what's on the albums?
They're spiritual songs that bring you to a more spiritual place. The first one is called Present Moment. It was done about 10 years ago. And because we have people learning the art of living in many different languages, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar asked me to do one in English. So some of the songs are from Christianity, some of them are from other traditions, but almost all of them except one are in English. It's on Spotify, called Present Moment. And then I recently did one in Sanskrit called A Sound into Silence, which is from the Sanskrit kirtan chanting kind of thing. Um, it turns out that every sound has an effect, as you know. And the older the language, the more powerful the sound, and the closer the sound and the effect that it has on you are to each other. So when you sing or chant in ancient languages like Hebrew or Latin or Sanskrit, it's very powerful. And I've been able to do chanting, with hundreds of thousands of people at a time. And it's very powerful. It does three things. It brings everybody together, of course, when they're singing together in any language. And it drops them into a place, if it's one of these ancient languages, where there's tremendous energy that comes up from within them and also radiated out from the group. And it's a very powerful form of meditation, actually.
What's the second album called? I want the listeners to hear it.
Sound into silence. And it turns
Sound.
out there's a number of Sound into Silence, so they have to find Sound into Silence by John Osborne
Okay.
Ah,
on
is that the
Spotify.
one that has the sans? Do you have the
Yeah,
Sanskrit?
Sanskrit on it, right?
And is that on Spotify as well? Or
It is. Both of
okay.
them are on Spotify.
Oh, great. Good, good.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so glad you have friends that are encouraging you to take those steps, that you're getting out there in spite of yourself.
I am. I'm getting out there because somehow I think nature wants me out there. And then I have times in my life, I was in a monastery for a while where I just am by myself and in
Yeah,
silence. And that's what gives me the inspiration and also the battery recharging to go out and do it again.
resilience, yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
resilience. That's what we call the tagline for the vets course is resilience training for optimum performance because that's the way they
Beautiful.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for opening this conversation and really so much more clarity. And personally, I just have such a bloom of inspiration and hope and rejuvenation happening within me that I've just been noticing ever since the scan that I'm really grateful for. And also for people to begin to, if they haven't before, begin to become aware of these deeper patterns and these possibilities and how breath and meditation and coming into that field can really support them and can support everyone.
That field already exists. Why would you
Yeah,
not want to take advantage of it?
yeah,
One of my favorite, when I do introductions to meditation in an introductory talk, one of my favorite quotes comes from a Christian saint, actually, Teresa of Avila. I don't know if either of you know about her, but she was a very famous saint at the time of the Spanish Inquisition. She was known to be in a higher state of consciousness. She wrote handbooks about meditation in higher states of consciousness. And she was a Carmelite nun in Spain in a convent and known to have these kind of miraculous experiences. And one of her sisters said, Teresa, what's it like walking around in your body? And she said, well, there's a part of me that's doing what everybody else is doing. I'm in the kitchen with the pots and pans taking care of my sisters. She said, and there's another part of me, she said, at every moment that's walking in a river, she said, and that river goes on forever.
beautiful.
And if I tell people, when they're thinking about should they start meditation, I said, that river is already going on forever within you. Wouldn't you like to be walking in it? And everybody
Yeah.
goes, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And when you do the breathing, especially the Sudarshan Kriya technique, very quickly, the vets within 5 or 10 minutes are having experiences of themselves they've never had before. That's why I use the breath so much. It's the quickest, easiest access to that deep place. And
Mm.
then they learn other forms of meditation, and it's great. But the breath just knocks people into a whole
Wow.
different level of consciousness.
Wow, that's
Yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
so beautiful
Sky
and
meditation,
amazing.
Sudarshan Kriya Yoga meditation is what the main thing that I teach in all these different courses. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for allowing me to be on your podcast. I'm getting more excited about these. I've done a few and I'm like, yeah, this can be fun and you meet really interesting people. So thank you for having me on, and I hope that together what we've done will be of some inspiration to some of the people that listen to you folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. Absolutely. It's
And
been
if we have
wonderful.
time sometime, ask me back. I'm sure there's many other things we can talk about.
Okay. We would love to
Yeah,
have you back. You
that'd be
bet.
wonderful. It would
Thank
be
you so much,
great.
both of you. Are we
Yeah,
all
thank
done?
you.
Finished?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a bit of an introduction to our
Yeah,
next
please.
podcast that we'll have, and so we're shifting and looking at the body still, and but keeping a focus on the subtle energetic landscape. So we're going to go inner, but a little bit lower, and talk with Gabe Doe.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, he offers a really much needed perspective. And he often says that we're living in an age of rising anxiety, burnout, and disconnection. And that modern science is now revealing how profoundly our gut, our brain and nervous system influence our mood, resilience, and the capacity for presence.
They call the gut the second brain.
Yes,
So, yeah, I can
yeah,
relate to that very
absolutely,
much.
yeah.
Sounds like you're doing very exciting work. I'll have to tune into your podcast.
Okay, we would love to have you. And so, with Gabe's session, we're going to be exploring internal systems, and see how they can support or hinder our journey towards healing and wholeness. So, I think this is great. We'll toggle back and forth here of your session here, John, and then listening to what Gabe says about this gut brain as well.
Very nice. I'm grateful for the
Yes.
service that you're providing in your podcast. Obviously, you're putting out really good knowledge for people, and it's inspiring to me to see the work that you're doing.
Oh,
Well, we look forward to our next conversation with John and to have a really amazing trip to Australia with lots of time for yourself at the same
Yeah, I
time.
hope to hit one of the beaches while I'm there. We'll see what happens. Thank you
Oh,
so much, ladies. It's very nice to be
yes,
with you.
thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Bye bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.